It was a perfect Sunday afternoon at Willow Grove Park, the kind of day where the spring breeze felt just right, warm enough to ditch the jacket, cool enough to linger outside. I was sprawled on my usual bench, book in hand, half reading, half soaking in the scene. Nearby, a group of teens was tearing it up on their skateboards by the fountain, pulling off tricks with a kind of effortless cool that made you wish you were 16 again. They were good, really good, and always kept to themselves, never bothering anyone. I'd seen them here plenty of times on my days off, and they were as respectful as they were talented. That calm VY be shattered like glass when a sharp voice sliced through the air. "Stop right there. What do you think you're doing? This is completely unacceptable." I looked up, and there she was, Margaret Hensley, the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood's homeowners association. Everyone called her Maggie behind her back, but not to her face. She was charging across the grass in her pristine navy blazer, clutching a clipboard like it was a badge of honor, her designer's sunglasses glinting in the sun. You could practically feel the tension ripple through the park. The four teens froze, boards under their feet, exchanging confused looks. One of them, a tall kid in a green snapback named Jake, flashed a polite smile. "Afternoon, ma'am. Is something wrong?" Maggie's face twisted with outrage. "Wrong? You need a permit to skateboard here. This is HOA property, and you're breaking Rule 7B of our community guidelines." Her voice was loud enough to turn heads across the park. The teens glanced at each other, stifling grins. Jake, clearly the group's unofficial spokesperson, kept his cool. "Ma'am, this is a public city park. We checked with the Parks Department, and skateboarding's allowed here." Maggie's face went from red to borderline purple. "Don't you dare talk back to me. I'm the president of the Willow Grove HOA, and I know every square inch of this property." She whipped out her phone, hitting record. "I'm documenting your trespassing and vandalism of our fountain. Leave now, or I'm calling the cops." I'd had enough. I'd been in this neighborhood for 6 months, and Maggie's reign of terror was no secret. She'd find neighbors for planting unapproved flowers, measured lawns with a ruler, even complained about my mailbox being too reflective. I closed my book and strolled over. "Excuse me, Margaret," I said, using her full name to make a point. "These kids are right. This park's city property, not HOA turf. I checked when I moved here." Maggie spun toward me, her eyes narrowing. "Oh, look who it is, Tom Harper from Elm Street. The guy who thinks his fancy accounting degree makes him untouchable. I've been watching you since you put up that tacky bird feeder." I smiled, unbothered. "It's within code. I double-checked." She huffed, turning back to the teens. "As for you delinquents, I'm calling 911 right now." She punched the numbers into her phone with a flourish, like she was starring in her own drama. The teens looked uneasy now. One of them, a younger kid in a yellow helmet named Ethan, whispered, "Should we just leave?" Jake shook his head. "We're not doing anything wrong." I gave them a nod, trying to keep them calm, while Maggie ranted into her phone. "Yes, I need police at Willow Grove Park immediately. These teenagers are vandalizing property and threatening me. They're destroying our fountain with those awful skateboards." That was a lie, plain and simple. The teens were skating on a concrete path, nowhere near the fountain, and they'd been nothing but polite. A small crowd had gathered now, and I noticed a mom with a stroller filming the whole thing. Minutes later, 2 police cruisers rolled into the lot, lights flashing. Maggie straightened her blazer and marched toward the officers, pointing at the teens like she was directing a MOVY. "Officers, thank goodness. These delinquents are destroying public property and refusing to show their permits." The officers, a grizzled veteran named Officer Daniels, and a younger woman, Officer Ruiz, approached calmly. Daniel spoke first. "What's the issue here?" Maggie launched into her story, every word dripping with self-righteous fury. "I'm Margaret Hensley, president of the Willow Grove HOA. These kids are skateboarding without permits, damaging the fountain, and they threatened me when I told them to stop. As HOA president, I take our community's safety seriously." Officer Ruiz glanced at the teens, who stood quietly, boards tucked under their arms. "Is this true? Were you damaging the fountain?" Jake shook his head. "No, ma'am. We were just skating on the path. We didn't go near the fountain or threaten anyone. I stepped forward. Officers, I've been here the whole time. These kids were just skating. No damage, no threats. They were polite, even when Ms. Hensley came at them. A few bystanders nodded, and the mom with the stroller piped up. I recorded most of it. Want to see? The officers watched the footage while Maggie fumed. The video showed her storming up to the teens, yelling, and something I hadn't even caught grabbing Ethan's skateboard when he tried to step away, nearly knocking him over. Daniel's face hardened as he handed the phone back. Ms. Hensley, this park is city property, not HOA property. Do you understand that? Maggie's confidence flickered, but she doubled down. Of course it's HOA property. Our dues pay for the landscaping and fountain. Officer Ruiz cut in. Ma'am, we know the boundaries of city property in this area. Willow Grove Park is city-owned. The HOA has no authority here. Maggie's jaw tightened. As a concerned citizen, I can still report dangerous active tie. Those boards are weapons. Daniel sighed. The city allows skateboarding here. These kids aren't breaking any laws. Maggie's composure cracked. What about the threats they made? Ruiz glanced at the video again. Ms. Hensley, the footage shows no threats. But to show you grabbing this young man's property, nearly causing him to fall, that could be considered assault. Maggie's face went pale, then flushed crimson. That video's fake. I'd never touch anyone. I know my rights as an American citizen and HOA president. Daniel's voice was firm. Ms. Hensley, I need your ID, please. Maggie's attitude shifted to pure defiance. I don't have to show you anything. I called you here. I'm going home. She turned and started marching off. Ma'am, stop, Ruiz called, stepping in front of her. We need your statement. When Ruiz touched her shoulder, Maggie spun around and shoved her hard. Don't touch me. Do you know who I am? I pay your salaries. That was it. In seconds, Maggie was in handcuffs, screaming as the crowd watched in stunned silence. Margaret Hensley, you're under arrest for filing a false police report, misuse of emergency SARE VYCS, and assaulting an officer, Ruiz said, securing the cuffs. Maggie's outrage echoed as they led her to the cruiser. This is outrageous. I'll sue you all. You can't arrest me, I am the HOA president. I walked over to the teens, who looked shell-shocked. You guys okay? Jake nodded. Yeah, thanks for backing us up, man. She's been hassling us for weeks, but we never thought she'd call the cops. I smiled. You did nothing wrong. Keep skating. This is your spot. The fallout was brutal for Maggie. She faced misdemeanor charges for the false report and misuse of 911, with fines up to due Law 2000. The assault charge was War C class, a misdemeanor, potentially a year in jail. The video of her meltdown spread like wildfire online, shared by half the park. The city issued a statement confirming skateboarding was allowed in the park, no permit needed. The next night, the HOA board held an emergency meeting and voted unanimously to boot Maggie as president, calling her actions unacceptable and a misuse of authority. When the vote was announced, Maggie sat there, frozen, her precious clipboard abandoned on the table, her reign finally over. As I watched the teens back at the park the next weekend, grinding rails and laughing, I couldn't help but grin. They'd stood their ground, and Maggie's power trip had crashed and burned. But it got me thinking, what do you make of this? Was Maggie just a control freak who went too far? Or did she genuinely believe she was protecting the community? Should the teens have just left to avoid the drama? Or was standing up to her the right call? And what about the HOA do? They have too much power in neighborhoods like this. Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more wild stories like this one. Let's get this debate going.